from the Hussman School of Journalism and Media at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, covering the full range of Tar Heel athletics. This is Sports Extra.
Sophia, I don't know how to say this, but I think I'm coming down with something. My energy is gone, my motivation is non-existent, and everything just tastes like disappointment.
Julia, I know what that is. That is not an illness. That's just what happens when we lose to Duke. It's called post-game depression, and unfortunately, the entire campus is infected. In fact, you and I are clearly in mourning.
We really are, but you know, we've been here and we will bounce back. Eventually, the sun will shine again, the three-pointers will start falling, and most importantly, Duke will lose. Good morning and welcome to Sports Extra. I'm Julia Thompson.
And I'm Sophia Pedroso. Let's break down exactly how this heartbreak happened, if we have to. Saturday night marked Game 1 of the Blue Blood rivalry as the Heels went to Durham to take on the Duke Blue Devils. The Heels struggled to find an offensive rhythm in the first half. Duke's freshman phenom Cooper Flagg was on fire in the first half as he hit this buzzer beater to go into halftime. Freshman guard Con Knipple stepped up with this and one basket in the second half as he led the Blue Devils with 22 points on the night. RJ Davis tried to make a run in the second half with this three-pointer on the wing. The Heels went on an 18-point scoring run in the final 5 minutes of play, but it wasn't enough as Duke defeated UNC 87-70. The Heels are looking for revenge as they take on Pitt this Saturday at the Dean Dome. And to understand this terrible loss, I have our men's basketball analyst Spencer Haskell with me. Spencer, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Sophia. I would say I'm happy to be here, but you saw what happened out there on Saturday.
Unfortunately did, and I almost wish I didn't. But with what we've been watching in general recently, it looks like, I don't know, maybe you and I can get out there and play.
Who knows? I don't think we could be doing much worse.
I think we could take on Cooper Flagg pretty good.
Who knows?
But regardless, let's go back to that game. But what do you think the Heels' biggest problem was?
Yeah, so I think everything that could have gone wrong on Saturday went wrong, but I think it ultimately goes back to what I talked about on Friday and just how poorly this Carolina team matched up with this much larger Duke roster. You watched it. The game was over by halftime. Duke shot 56% from the field in the first half, and they got whatever they wanted on offense. And then on defense, their size and their length absolutely killed Carolina, which let Duke run out and get in transition and get some easy buckets.
Absolutely. It looked like Duke had an answer for every punch Carolina threw.
I don't know if punch is the word I would use.
I got to agree with that correction. Regardless, on the other side of things, the Tar Heels couldn't do anything to limit the Blue Devils, and now shooting to that big picture, where do you think the Heels go from here?
Yeah, Sophia, I think that the Tar Heels have to take a long look in the mirror, and if you ask me, I think it starts at the top with the coaching. Let's face it, this is not a good basketball team, and we just can't keep pretending like they are.
I got to agree with you there, and I wish we could keep pretending. Ignorance is bliss, but it seemed like the Tar Heels just kind of gave up out there.
Yeah, for sure, and I think that's honestly what bothered me the most. Yes, there is definitely a talent gap this year between Duke and Carolina, but it's not a 30-point talent gap. They have McDonald's All-Americans, we have McDonald's All-Americans, and it just should not be a 30-point differential in Duke, Carolina ever. So I definitely think that coaching has to come into question here.
That's a good point, for sure.
They just keep rolling the ball out there with the same exact game plan, the same strategy, and they expect something to give. They think something's going to change when it's just obviously not. And now they're definitely on the wrong side of the bubble, and they've got nothing to lose. So if you ask me, they've got no choice but to change something.
I got to completely agree with you there. And you mentioned making some changes. What would you like to see them tweak specifically?
Yeah, so in a perfect world, you could just bring back Armando Bacot, Cormac Ryan, and Harrison Ingram and call it a day.
A girl can only dream.
Yeah, but that's not the reality. You've got to play with the hand you're dealt, and this Carolina team is just too small to keep trying to do what they've been doing defensively all year, like playing man-to-man, guarding straight up 1 through 5, or switching on screens.
For sure. They've got this whole week off, Spencer, before they take on Pitt Saturday in Chapel Hill. Gives them plenty of time to rest, maybe finally figure things out, and maybe take some of those suggestions of yours.
Who knows? Maybe learn something.
We'll see. Thanks, Spencer.
Spencer and Sophia, you guys are exactly right. It was a tough outing for Carolina on Saturday down Tobacco Road. But if there's one thing we know about this rivalry, it's that history always adds fuel to the fire. Let's take a look at the all-time stats between UNC and Duke. As you can see, Carolina leads the all-time series with a 145-118 record, proving that we are truly the better blue. And if that's not enough proof, Carolina holds 33 ACC regular season titles, while Duke has only 19. I'm no mathematician, but I believe that 14 is quite a few more than the Blue Devils. But when it comes to the ACC tournament, it is a tight race, with Duke sitting at 22 to UNC's 18. If we run it back to national championships, we have 7 and Duke only has 5. So while Saturday's performance was one to learn from, this rivalry is most definitely not defined by just one game. We'll see you boys back in the Dean Dome in March.
And in the women's team, second game, West Coast game in 3 days, they faced the Stanford Cardinal on Sunday afternoon. Both teams got off to a shaky start, but the Heels took the lead by capitalizing on multiple Cardinal turnovers. Carolina's offense continued to have their way as bigs Maria Gokdang and Blanca Thomas dominated in the paint to give the Heels 8 offensive rebounds and 10 second chance points heading into the half. After the break, Alyssa Utsby proved she's not just a post player as she went 4 for 5 from beyond the arc. Carolina's lead vanished in the fourth as Stanford rallied back. In the end, the Tar Heels got the defensive stop to pull off a close call 69-67 victory and remain undefeated on the road. For more about yesterday's way too close win, let's go to matchups with Malik. Molly, what happened at Stanford?
Sophia, we saw the Tar Heels lose a double-digit lead for the second time going into the fourth quarter. Last time was against Duke, which led to an overtime win, but this time, fans weren't sure what to expect in those last few minutes. Going into the fourth quarter, the Heels led the Cardinals 59-48. But let's see where they started to fumble. Stanford goes on a 12-0 run to tie the game 62-62 thanks to better play in the paint. Here we see the defense start to scramble as Elena Bozgana goes up for the layup, fails, and then we find freshman Kennedy Ume go back down, rebound, and put it up for good. Stanford took a page from the Heels book and started offensively rebounding without the Heels knowing how to react. Then we see Renaya Kelly go on a streak of her own, first with a jumper and following by some crazy ball action. She takes a little slip, but she gets back up okay and keeps the ball viable, putting down a clutch 3 in just a moment to put the Heels up by 5. Yet, down by 7 with a minute and a half to go, the Cardinals show they aren't giving up. Nunu Agara pulls out one last cut through the paint, going around Alyssa Utsby, and is going to put up that ball for one last shot to bring the score to 69-67. Surviving the loss of a double-digit lead has been possible twice, but this can't keep happening if the Heels want to continue the season strong. Sophia?
Molly, you touched on what went wrong in that second half, but what were some of the positives?
Sophia, I was really impressed by the team's 37 rebounds, Usby's 4 3-pointers, and ultimately the stamina the team had throughout their time in California. In the post-game interview, Coach Banghart referenced how much it takes to go on these longer trips, and I think the Heels did a great job overall at staying in the game. They're the first ACC school to conquer both California programs on the same trip, and I think they deserve credit for that.
Absolutely, Molly. The Heels have a week until they head to Clemson on Sunday, and fans hope they'll continue their away game winning streak, which currently sits at an undefeated 6-0. Thanks, Molly.
In a huge matchup on Saturday, the number 8 women's tennis team traveled to Athens to take on the top-ranked Georgia Bulldogs. The deciding factor was UNC's Reese Brantmeyer, who missed all of last year with an injury, defeating the number 1 ranked singles player in the country, Dasha Vimanova, in a nail-biter 3-set match. Carolina with the upset 4-3. And in a grueling match on Saturday, men's tennis took on Illinois without one of their key players, Patrick Schoen. The Heels took on the doubles point thanks to the star duo of Vladislav Melnick and Chris Shue, and teammates Diego Jerry and Anthony Wright. Individually, Chris Shue had a successful day, winning his singles match by a 6-4, 6-1 score. But it was the Tar Heels' only singles match win. The Fighting Illini beat Carolina 4-2.
You got to play complete matches all the way through. You know, we got beat up pretty good quickly at some spots, and that changes the whole, outlook of a dual match when it goes down that quickly. So again, we want to look at those guys' matches and find out we just got to compete better at every spot.
The Tar Heels hit the ice on Friday to face off against NC State's Ice Pack. While this might have been one of the team's last games of the season, it was still full of firsts for the Heels. The Heels scored first in the first period, and it was Drew Smith's first goal as a Tar Heel. That goal was then followed up later in the period by a sniper of a shot by Adam Zukowski. Heels up by 2 after the first. State stayed sharp and scored a power play goal in the second, and then again in the third period to tie the game up and force an overtime. The 3-on-3 sudden death was back and forth until sophomore Daniel Cobber jumped off the bench and went top shelf, giving the Heels the win. While Friday's game was quite an exciting ending for the Heels and gave the team some much-needed momentum before heading into their biggest game of the season, Emma Kane went off the ice with the Heels to learn more about what it's like to play on the biggest stage in club hockey.
It's what you dream of as a kid, and to be able to compete for my university is an amazing experience.
It's like the pinnacle of our season, you know, it's the one that you have circled in the calendar.
On Sunday, the UNC Tar Heels took on the NC State Ice Pack at Lenovo Center. The two teams meet each year on NHL ice to compete for the Governor's Cup.
In terms of club hockey, I think this is probably the biggest rivalry there is.
With a packed house full of Carolina Blue and NC State Red, the two teams got ready to take the ice.
The fans come out every game, and I mean, I know it's just great to have them, and we appreciate them.
So many people just watching you doing the thing that you love. It makes us feel like we're pros.
I'm just excited. No nerves, just ready to go.
NC State was just as ready and ended up taking the first goal of the night, ending the first period 1-0.
After the first shift, as soon as you take in your surroundings, you kind of just focus on your gameplay, accomplishing the goal at hand.
UNC needed to get back to the goal at hand, especially after State doubled their lead in the second, Tar Heels trailing by 2.
I think everyone's ready to prove that we can compete.
We've beaten these guys before, so I mean, no reason to do anything different.
UNC found a response in the second period, cutting the lead in half. The team battled all the way through the third, but was unable to find the back of the net, and NC State walked away with the win and the Roy Cooper Cup. While the team was disappointed in the loss, they also shared about how this team is about so much more than winning or losing.
Getting to hang out with these guys 3 or 4 times a week has definitely been the highlight.
Here to have fun. I'm doing what I love, doing it with my best friends.
I couldn't think of a better way to close it out than with these guys. And yeah, playing at Lenovo Center to end off my last regular season game of my career is the perfect place to do it.
I'm Emma Kane reporting.
Although the Heels lost last night, their season is still not over, as they will be playing in the ACC HL tournament this weekend.
On Friday, the 18th ranked UNC wrestling team faced off against the 6th ranked NC State Wolfpack in a heated rivalry matchup at Carmichael Arena. Carolina came out swinging, setting the tone with dominant takedowns and high energy scrambles. With outstanding performances from athletes such as Lachlan McNeil at 141 pounds and Cade Lau at 174. The Tar Heels controlled the duel early, racking up key points. But the momentum shifted and NC State held strong, escaping with a 19-16 victory.
With softball season starting on Friday, reporter Gianna Diamato takes us to Anderson Softball Stadium to introduce us to one player who has really made a name for herself here at Carolina.
After a remarkable breakout season with the Tar Heels, softball senior Alex Coleman was named to the preseason All-ACC team, despite being doubted by many.
A lot of people doubted me transferring from the Sun Belt. People might not have believed that I could do what I did here in the ACC.
Coleman started her softball career at Marshall University with head coach Megan Smith-Lyon. After her sophomore year, she transferred to UNC, where Coach Lyon had taken a job. In her first season with the Heels, Coleman stepped out strong, leading the ACC with a .436 batting average. Coach Lyon said Alex's ACC debut was the best example of why she was so deserving of the nomination.
She had such a great year. She led the country in hitting for quite a bit of the season, and she was an all-region player as well, and she just has good numbers.
Coleman has been an inspiration to many as her love for the game grows more and more each season. She continues to improve her skills. She has earned every bit of this title and carries it humbly.
I play the game for the Lord above because He has given me absolutely everything I have and every single ability that I have. That's why I play.
Having coached Coleman for her entire college ball career, Coach Lyon said she has watched Alex become the talented player she is today.
Watching her deal with so much adversity early in her career and seeing how she kind of process that and work through it and always maintain this drive and determination.
Coleman has high hopes for herself and the team this season, but above all, she wants to enjoy her final season of the sport she grew up loving. She's looking to improve further while having fun for one last ride.
I'm really looking forward to being able to play in my home state again and play in front of my hometown crowd. My goals for myself are to have fun. I've always said, why are you doing it if it ain't fun?
I'm Gianna Diamato reporting.
First pitch of the 2025 season is Friday at the Tiger Invitational in Auburn against App State.
It was a career-high night for the gymnastics team as they traveled to the West Coast to take on the Stanford Cardinal. The Heels started on bars for their first rotation where Nevi King scored a 9.8, tying her career high. Rotation 2 was rough for the Heels as they scored a total of 48.825, marking their lowest score out of all 4 rotations. The Heels were able to gain momentum with their floor routines as Jessica Naranjo and Jojo Valanovic scored career highs in the top 2 sports of the rotation. Naranjo scored another career high on the beam with a 9.925, but it wasn't enough as the Heels lost by 1.475 points. Despite the loss, the team posted its highest road score of the season. Let's take it to Chalk Talk with Kate McCullough to show us how this team showed up to compete.
Julia, the Heels continue to improve, scoring a 9.875 on floor, earning a career high. Valahovic's routine placed her in second for floor exercise. Let's take a look here at her exceptional floor routine. Going to the middle of her routine, she goes into a front tuck into a round-off back handspring, getting so much height here, she does a double backflip, keeping her chest up, nailing that stick. Moving to the end of her routine, we gotta highlight this amazing straddle jump. She pulls her toes to the ceiling as if being held up by a string. She hits the floor and bounces right up into a beautiful finish. Up next on the beam was superstar Naranjo scoring a career high of 9.925, placing her second overall on balance beam. Let's look at her stellar moves here as she does a front aerial. Going into that front aerial, she keeps her core tight, giving her the ability to have a steady landing, giving her that perfect connection into a standing layout step out. Sticking that landing. Moving on to her dismount, she goes into a back handspring, into a back twist. She pulls her right side, giving her that driving force to twist. And that's another Carolina stick. The Tar Heels' top performers are getting better week by week. Julia?
Kate, as the Heels are prepping for their upcoming home meet against Clemson, what should the team be working on?
Julia, both the Heels and Clemson's weakest event is vault, putting them head-to-head. The Heels will have to work on minimizing those small point deductions. Working on sticking those landings will be crucial to coming out on top.
Well, we could see a packed house at Carmichael Arena on Sunday. Thanks, Kate.
On Saturday, Carolina's women's lacrosse played their final exhibition game against the All-Star alumni team at Dorrance Field. The Heels got off to a quick start, scoring 3 goals, including this give and go between Ashley Humphrey and Caroline Godin, who put it away. But their lead wouldn't last long when the ball was lobbed to Caitlin Wurzberger, who brought the score level at 5-5. The alumni stayed in the game during the first half, but UNC pulled away in the second with an open goal scored by Ashley Humphrey. Kylie Moti scored Carolina's last with this shot into the bottom left corner, and the current Tar Heels won 19-13. The 13th ranked women's golf team opened the spring season Sunday at the PDI Intercollegiate. After day 1, the Heels are locked in a tight battle for 6th place against Mississippi State. Freshman Helen Young currently leads the Heels after shooting 2 under par. There are 2 more days of competition left.
It was a record-breaking day for Carolina track and field at the John Thomas Terrier Classic in Boston. Ethan Strand breaks an NCAA record in the 3,000 meter. Colton Sands sets a new personal best in the 5,000 meter, and Michaela Page does the same in the 800 meter. Speaking of track and breaking records, UNC's Ethan Strand absolutely shattered the collegiate mile record, finishing at 3 minutes and 48 seconds.
His insane time is why we have him as our first contender for Play of the Week. Strand ran the 3rd fastest indoor mile of all time, and Strand is now the first college runner to post a sub-350 mile time.
And that is really impressive, but we also have Jessica Naranjo's career high 9.925 on beam, which moved her up to 4th all-time in program history. Make sure you go to our Instagram to vote for your pick for the best play of the week.
The Chiefs for a three-peat against the Eagles, who won the Lombardi Trophy in 2018 and have the most exciting offense in the league. Kyla McGee tells us 2 UNC students will be documenting it all.
Maya Wade and Anna Lively are working with Raleigh News and Observer to cover Super Bowl 59. The pair asked their editor to apply for credentials with the expectation that they would get rejected. But the NFL media coordinators had other plans.
We decided to go through the process because it wouldn't hurt. The worst they would say was no, and we ended up getting credentials in early December for both of us, for Media Week and for the Super Bowl.
Throughout their week, Wade will be reporting on at least 6 Philadelphia Eagles players with a North Carolina connection. Lively will be doing the same, but for 6 players on the Kansas City Chiefs, similar to their assignment for the 2024 Paris Summer Olympics.
Bonjour!
Sports journalism kind of allows me to combine my love for sports and storytelling in a really unique and interesting way, and being able to go to Paris was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and the Super Bowl will be very similar to that. So I'm excited to be able to cover professional sports for a professional media outlet and keep working on my sports journalism skills in that way.
Before their departure, they left Hussman students with some advice.
The advice I would give to students is to just literally try anything, and even if you think it's going to be a no as an answer, you might as well give it a try, because there's no harm in putting forth the effort to see if you can have a certain opportunity.
You never know what opportunity will lead to another one, so just being open to any different things that come about, especially in college, where it's a really good time to kind of explore different things and meet different people.
Wade and Lively are excited to make their first NFL game a Super Bowl. I'm Kyla McGee reporting.
While Anna and Maya are 2 incredible students who deserve to go to the Super Bowl, I have to ask the question, Julia, why not us?
And you know what, Sophia? Speaking of why not us, come to our 30 for 30 style documentary on the Women's Soccer National Championship premiering on February 26th. That does it for this edition of Sports Extra.
We'll be back on Friday with a review of another exciting weekend of Carolina athletics.